Monique Howard, and I am giving an informative speech. And here's my cards. And what I want to talk about is I want to talk about domestic violence. Today, I want to inform you about some of the warning signs. I want to tell you about how COVID-19 has had an impact on the cases. And I also want to talk to you about the resources that are available. And I want to start off with a quote. And this is from an article issued from the Council of Foreign Relations, and according to the data collected by Professor Caroline Lopez. And what she states is she is stating that there are 243 million cases worldwide from women between the ages of 15 to 49 that were subject to sexual or physical violence by an intimate partner in the last 12 months. So in the last 12 months, 243 million women and girls. And that is that's terrible. And what people fail to realize with domestic violence is more about power and control. That's the goal. The goal is to have power and have control over you. And the reason why I know so much about domestic violence is because I volunteered at a shelter called Safeness here in town. And I worked anywhere from helping women get TPOs to being in a shelter to being on a hotline. So I kind of have a little idea as to what goes on. According to the article, A Double Pandemic, last dated May 2020, Caroline Lopez states, she states that domestic violence is a lot closer than we realize. It could be your mom, your sister, your neighbor, your coworker, and people don't really talk about it because it's a lot of shame and guilt associated with it, and it's a lot of judgment. So a lot of women just stay silent, and it's really sad. And the first thing I want to talk about really is the warning signs. Secondly, I want to talk about how COVID-19 pandemic has made the cases rise, and lastly, I want to talk about the resources that are available if when you're ready to leave the situation. And the first thing I want to talk about when I talk about warning signs are red flags. And these red flags are usually when you are dealing with bringing your boyfriend around, your friends, and they think he's so charming and he's wonderful and they think he's so great. And then all of a sudden, over time, he starts becoming controlling and possessive. He doesn't like you hanging with these people, that people. And then next when you get home, he feels you disrespected him and the violence starts. So, I mean, it's as fast as that. In an article from May 20 issue of Psychology Today, McLean Stanley, who got his degree from the developmental psychology of education from Harvard, he states that by isolating victims from friends and family, any outside contact, abusers are able to assert control over the victim's entire environment. Recognizing the signs will help you get out of this situation. Now that we talked about the warning signs, I want to move on to the pandemic, because this has a huge impact on why women are isolated. It's an article in the May 20 issue of the Council of Foreign Relations, again with Professor Caroline Lopez, and I quote, she states that experts have characterized an invisible pandemic of domestic violence as the COVID crisis as a ticking time bomb. This is a ticking time bomb. And it's really sad because if he's not working, you're not working, the kids are home, then all of a sudden tensions are high. If you don't have access to a phone, you can't call your sister, you can't call your mom, you can't leave the house, then, how are you going to be able to get help? In an article, March 20 issue of People magazine, Dr. Amanda Shiloh, the quality improvement professor of the Rutgers Behavioral Health Center, states, and I quote, I think that the fear of the coronavirus is something that abusers are really using as a means of controlling their victims. I think a lot of the women know they want to leave. However, with the coronavirus, they're thinking, are the shelters full? Where will I go? It becomes hard for them to communicate anything, especially if they don't have any phones or anything available to them. And like I said, a lot of them feel isolated, and then with the perpetrator there, it can become a mess. And according to the domestic violence, COVID-19 Psychology Today, with dated May 20th, Stanley McLean from Harvard. He says in total, the report predicts that at least 15 million additional cases will occur as a result of the coronavirus lockdown. And like I said, 15 million cases, and you have no access to any kind of resources. And that's why resources are important. And that's the last thing I want to talk to you about is there's a lot of time when victims are stuck home with the husband, and they want to call. And when they do get a chance, there is so many shelters and so many places out here. You have SafeNest here that has a 24-hour shelter. If the shelters are full, they will put you in a hotel. You have the National Domestic Violence Hotline, which is available 24 hours, which will hook you up with an agency wherever you live at. Another important thing is this: you have to do safety planning. You have to make sure you have your birth certificates, social security cards. You need to have all your important documents, medication, anything you need in a safe place outside of the home. So if by chance you have to leave at a spur of the moment, then you'll have access to those things. And then it's also good that if you can't get into a shelter, that you have someplace safe that he doesn't know about. And the shelters, trust me, will do everything they can. I even seen them put people in hotels until they can get them safe and get them into the shelters. So today I informed you about some of the warning signs about the COVID pandemic, and how the cases, are through the roof. And what I want to say is these women need to know that they have a community out here willing to help, and all they have to do is take the first step. Thank you.